I don't want them to miss a
I just
word.
want Bobby to be prepared for this. We're good.
I'm sure Bobby's prepared for this big
All
time.
right, we think we're here. Last time, literally the whole of Toronto was letting us have it on this thread, and I'm sure they'll be back, and that's fine. We welcome it. But there's three things we knew after last game. Shooting wasn't all that important. Rob Williams was the key to the Celtics winning Game 5, no matter what, there would not be another blowout in this series. These were established facts. Established facts after Game 4. Okay, this is the consensus. Expert opinion told us all of these things were true. Okay, so Bobby, you got to go first last game. You get to go first this game.
Prime Minister Bobby.
Prime Minister Manning.
You have
Look at it, getting combed for this one.
Do you know Jimmy had an alter ego when we worked at NBC together, called Jimmy Canada?
I did.
I bequeath that onto you.
I know.
Oh no, Bobby!
Oh, I thought it was just me. I thought I couldn't hear him.
We can't hear him?
Bobby, you got to get out and back in. We're going to do this without you.
Jimmy, can you hear him?
I can't hear him, but I'm glad.
No, we'll get him back in.
More BS coming from Bobby's mouth after what was an absolute
You should
murder.
see Bobby's Twitter. It's all friggin' Maple Leafs right now.
You know what?
We love you, Bobby. You're the only voice of reason, you know? Let's see voice of reason if he can talk. Hey.
So I was wrong about the no blowouts. That's clear. You got me?
Get him. I don't have him.
Everybody but Jimmy's got him, so Jimmy's got to go and come back.
Jimmy doesn't want to hear me. Jimmy doesn't want to hear me anyway, but I was wrong about
Oh, man.
Disaster, Jimmy. It's Jimmy's triggering all the bad stuff here.
Yeah, this never happens. We always get 3.
Jimmy, you kicked Bobby out audio. We're having terrible difficulties here.
We were fine right before.
We were fine right before. I don't know what happened. No, Bobby's got to go. I don't know. We're going to keep playing this. Wait, you talk while they figure it out.
Why doesn't Joe Sway start since
Go.
everyone can hear him?
Joe Sway.
All right, let's do it. So they challenged the Celtics to shoot. I feel like we saw that last game. We saw that right out of the gate. The Celtics took 4 3-pointers in a row, and it looked like they weren't worried from there. You know, you saw a couple of them go down, and you saw Toronto Raptors just on their heels. The Celtics, again, transition defense.
Yeah.
Man, the Raptors couldn't get a bucket. Just when they thought they're going to get a layup, the Celtics made it work for every single one. And what do? They start chucking away because that's what the Raptors do. That's sort of how they win or how they get out of those kind of situations, but it wasn't enough tonight. Boston. It wasn't enough.
That was tough. I'm afraid to ask one of you guys to speak.
Jimmy. You got me?
I can hear him.
All
yes!
right.
We did
Everybody's
it.
there.
Good thing. Bobby, go.
All right. No more blowouts? Wrong.
Okay.
The Raptors were an absolute disgrace in this one. They didn't show up early. They didn't muster any life late. No adjustments.
Your press clippings is what they were doing.
Yeah.
They got high off of your stuff.
I don't know what happened here. Like, everybody on the team just laid a complete egg in this game. The Celtics took...
Oh, man. I think it's those headsets, man.
It's your headset or your mic, Bobby. You're just flicking.
I think it's your headsets.
Yeah. I got to get ready.
It's his audio. It's his audio.
Yeah, he's having problems. It was a rough game all around. Look, all right, let's go down the line here. We'll start with, obviously, from the Celtics' point of view, the thing that you had to see, that you really wanted to see was Jalen, right out of the gate. And he missed his first 2 threes, and then he missed a little pull up in the lane.
He hit his first 3 of the game.
Oh, okay. No,
the very first one, yeah, and then he missed 3 in a row.
And then he missed a little pull up in the lane, and I was like, and then he got confused once on defense, and I texted you guys like, like he looked like he was kind of thinking, and that's a bad Jalen,
What we saw 2 days ago.
Yeah, and it was really worrisome for a little bit there, and then he got aggressive, that was it. Jimmy, you kept texting like attack. Makes a huge difference. And again, the Celtics, the threes weren't going down early, not at a great clip. They still started kind of cold. But again, 20 points in the paint early. They were really bringing it, and they got aggressive. Obviously, the defense, they clamped down the whole game. But offensively, they didn't just rely on just chucking. They went at them.
Right, and this is kind of what I said after Game 4. I was like, Jaylen Brown's not, to me, the type of shooter that I don't really want to watch him shoot his way out of a shooting slump. You gotta get your points in other ways. And actually, before the game, the guys on TNT pretty much said the same thing: get to the line, drive to the rim. So it was good to see them do that a little bit more in Game 5 tonight. And listen, John, we talked about, the Celtics just missed more shots, in Game 4. Well, we have to talk about how freaking cold the Raptors were in this game. And I do want to give the Celtics credit because I do think they were playing tough defense. But I also, listen, we said the Celtics just missed shots. We have to say the Raptors, they were missing shot after shot in that first quarter, historically bad quarter. And the Celtics, again, they didn't play a great first quarter. We said it. They should have been up 20 plus.
Oh yeah, I mean Toronto's as cold. That's as bad an offensive start as you could see.
Right.
I was actually, if you're a Celtics fan, there you had to be a little worried in that first quarter because it looked like Toronto just played the worst quarter humanly possible that they could ever string together, and the Celtics didn't distance as much as you would have hoped. They did by the end of the quarter, but for a while there it was like 6-7, and Boston wasn't hitting shots, and they were giving away possessions, and it did. There was definitely like a spot there where you're like, they're gonna muck this. Toronto's given them an opportunity to go ahead, and then Toronto never got it right. It was 25-11, and then after that, it just took off from there. That second quarter was unbelievable. 37-24, they blew their doors off, and that was it. I mean, the Celtics. That was it. I mean, the second half. It felt like nobody.
Well, the fourth quarter meant nothing.
Nothing.
The difference in Game 5, I thought, for the Celtics was their defense led to offense, right? I mean, they were getting out in the breaks. They were scoring in position. They, at one point, I think it was 13-0 in fast break points. Somehow the Raptors ended up scoring the next 18 fast break points, so that stats kind of look skewed at the end. But again, you're talking about the second half by that point, so really do those numbers even matter? I mean, if you want to really break down the numbers, look at the first half and the differences on those two sides. And it just looked like while – in Game 4, we talked about how the Celtics just didn't seem to want it. And the players even said that after the game. It looked like the Raptors wanted it more. And tonight it was complete opposite. I mean, the way Kemba Walker came out, I thought he was, a man on a mission tonight, leading the charge. Jaylen Brown was, he stayed shooting, man. I mean, he's not going to shy away. That's one thing we know about Jaylen Brown, I guess, is that he's not going to second guess himself. He's not going to lose his confidence, good or bad. And then I thought Jason Tatum, although he was extremely quiet to start in that first quarter, had a couple of nice plays late in that first quarter, kind of get him going a little bit and set the tone a little bit. But those guys sort of got him going.
Tatum still didn't. I mean,
No, he didn't take over. Not by any means. And we didn't mention him.
Tatum didn't have a good game. No,
he didn't. But he didn't really.
But you had
really
a balance. You had a balanced game. Yeah, you had a balance.
Right, he didn't have to, and which makes me think about the next game. Like Game 6, Tatum could go off. This could be enough to send Toronto Raptors home packing. But yeah, I think, to Jimmy's point, I think the defense was the difference in that first quarter. It was like 6-point lead, but the defense was more than enough to keep the Celtics in that spot, and then it triggered their offense. You saw guys being more aggressive and going to the rim. There was no one being really aggressive from the Toronto Raptors. Kyle Lowry, of course, here and there, but you didn't see anyone sort of try to take the initiative.
Let's talk about Kyle Lowry, okay? 10 points, 8 field goals. I don't know where he went today, okay? 3 turnovers.
Boy.
3 turnovers, minus 23 in 34 minutes. Is this your king, Toronto? Is this your king? This is the
guy. He ran out of gas after the first half.
Streaming comments last game. Kyle Lowry is a champion. God. 8 shots. I mean, where was Kyle Lowry today, people? Oh my goodness, Jimmy, answer for your boy.
Kyle Lowry was.
No, Bobby, answer. Jeez, Bobby. Take the headset off. Try something different. It's not working. Gotta try something else. I think it's the headset on the mic. Yeah.
It is the headset. I'll say this. Kyle Lowry, no show. I mean, this is the Raptors guy, right? This is their leader. This is their guy who's been there, done that from the start. They've got his back, as they should. But listen, I mean, you want to give Kyle Lowry the praise when he deserves it. You got to give him the you got to hate on him when he deserves that too. And it's not just Kyle Lowry. I tweeted this out too. Is there any more disappointing player than Pascal Siakam?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about
wow.
The Celtics turned Siakam back into a G League player. He needs to go back to the G League based on what I'm seeing. I mean, this guy. I mean, I haven't seen it. I apparently haven't seen enough of him to see what all the hype's all about. But I mean, 5 fouls. He picked up foul. He's been in foul trouble, I think, 3 to the 5 games. I mean, does he even want to play?
Again, 5 of 9. Another one. 0 for 2 3-pointers, minus 25 in 29 minutes. You're supposed to be an no-show, an absolute didn't even show up to the gym for these two
He
guys.
didn't do one thing. I can't remember one good thing he did in this game.
Nothing. And what's amazing was last game, again, the shot was off, but he took it to Jalen.
He did,
was scoring down low. He was
and there
really,
the Raptors fans.
He really gritted out some buckets and played a tough game last game. But this was again for your superstars. I mean, and Van Vliet had another shit shooting night. So it's another one around the board, where it's just kind of like, you've got to get these. If you're Toronto, you don't have enough firepower to get 6 of 14 from Van Vliet. I mean, again, OG was ice cold. Everyone was ice cold. But if Siakam and Lowry have to be more aggressive on offense if you're going to get going. Again, Gasol did it again. Another 0 for 4. I mean, he was useless tonight.
Right, but John, it goes back to Kyle Lowry again, right? Like, Siakam's not going to take matters into his own hands, and I think Brad Stevens did a great job of identifying. Look, you cut the head of the snake, which is the Raptors' offense. It all goes through Kyle Lowry.
It does.
Throw Lowry down, and no one else is going to get into momentum or rhythm.
Sink or swim. Even last game where we were giving him a little crap because he didn't have a great shooting game and he turned the ball over a ton. But you're right, it's a different feel when he's being aggressive. Things are running through him. Obviously, he had the huge 31-point game, the one before where they won. The game 3 shocker. And is Bobby mad at us? Is he going to try to come back?
I was just thinking the same thing. Like, where's he at?
If you're Bobby, you don't want to come back to the show, man.
I put him back. Yeah, Canada needs him.
After what? And look at Canada. Look at your leader, Bobby, right now, just completely leaving you high and dry after a poor effort from the Raptors.
Bobby's defected.
He's not welcome back in the States.
He's
expatriated.
He's gone. Canada, you've lost Bobby forever.
We made fun of his headsets, man. We shouldn't have said it.
Joe Sway, go get Greeny over here.
I hit him up right now.
Hit him up.
One guy who's hyped right now. It's Greeny.
That'll really piss Raptors fans off if we get Greeny on the show.
Yeah.
But listen, and the thing that, speaking of Raptors fans, the thing that they kept saying after games 3 and games 4 is that, because we kept saying, John, well, the Celtics' best is better than the Raptors' best, and they kept saying, you haven't even seen anything close to the Raptors' best. They're not playing anywhere near what they need to be. Well, now's the time to start maybe playing near your best. I mean, through 5 games, we haven't seen anything close to what the Raptors can do. I don't know what they're waiting for. I'm starting to think that they don't have it left in them in this season. I don't know what they have left.
What I'm not sure of is, this is a team that during the regular season, averaged closer to like 112, 113, points per game. And they're cracking 100 is like, cause for celebration for these guys. And again, we get it. These are 2 top 5 defenses. It's going to be lower scoring. I mean, right now, what was the final 111 today? I mean, the Celtics, the two high water marks are 112 and 111. So it's hard to get there. But have you seen a game again? If you were from another planet, this is the first series of basketball you've ever watched. Would you come away from it thinking like this was a really, really good team that's yet to play its best game? They haven't done anything impressive yet. Like if there is that 35-5 Raptors team, the team that dominated the bubble outside of the Celtics, and they did this to other teams. They just haven't shown up yet, or they're not having a tough time showing up against the Celtics for whatever reason. Like you don't see it. It doesn't pass the eye test right now. Again, it's whether the Celtics are the bad matchup for them or they've just had a real tough series. I can't figure out which one it is.
I think this is the other thing that we've said is that the Celtics starters, you want to talk about Celtics starters are more talented than the Raptors starters. And you can just look at the box score time. I mean, the Celtics production-wise, I mean, their starters were absolutely on. Sure, the Raptors have more depth and they've got more size and they've got more, I would say, a deeper rotation of role players that can sort of come through. But when it's strictly based on talent, and I said it before, and I know some people in the comments disagree, but I think based on talent, the Celtics have the edge. And I think we saw that when they're on, or when a few of their guys are on, they can outlast the Raptors.
Right.
And again, was all of it on the Celtics defense tonight? No, I think the Raptors missed some uncharacteristic outside shots that normally they should be able to hit. But I got to give the Celtics credit for the defense they played in that first half. Tice, Smart, I thought set the tone. And you're always going to get good effort out of Smart anyways. but I thought those two guys really were like the glue guys tonight, and that was the difference.
Josue, talk about Tice. We were talking about him before, and there was again, we gave him a little crap at the beginning of the post game, but the entire world was certain this was Brad's grievous error, and the thing that might doom him this series was his reluctance to go to Rob Williams. At some point, we got to figure out that possibly coaches know more than we know when it comes to this stuff.
Unless it's Nick Nurse.
If he's not playing Rob Williams, there's probably a reason he's not playing Rob Williams. Okay, so Tice had himself a terrific game.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting how, but before the game started, I was watching Celtics pregame, and Kendrick Perkins said that he thought that was the most important matchup. That the center position, the way he worded it was, whichever team wins the big man matchup is going to win this one. And I was like, looking at it that way, then I love the Celtics' chances because of Daniel Tice, because of what he does on both ends. My only concern was, do not get too fed up with the referees. And he almost did. I thought at one point someone's going to have to grab him, but luckily the Suns are up by 20, so he was able to cool off. But yeah, no question. It's not only because of what he does on defense, but offensively, he's just a problem for the Toronto Raptors. He's a problem whether he's out in the perimeter, he's constantly down low. You see him, the main beneficiary.
Right.
Hey, if OG doesn't hit that incredible shot, everyone is talking about what a play from Tice, what a pass from Kemba Walker in that minute. Yeah. But what a finish from Tice to not only have the hands to grab that pass, but to bring it up as quick enough as he did. You left 0.5 on there, but still, you know what I mean? Yeah. Everyone will be talking about Tice a lot more.
And you're talking about Tice getting frustrated. Kyle Lowry's greatest contribution to that game was that baseline flop where he hooked Tice. And Tice
and then he lost it. Then you see the replay, and you're like, oh, okay.
Right there, like, okay, why? But it was Lowry's friggin' falling out of bounds. He hooks Tice, he falls backwards, and then, of course, he gets the call because, again,
Tice is good for one of those a game.
We'll give you credit, right? And Lowry we've seen Marcus Smart for all these years. Lowry's on that level. He's elite at getting those calls, Oh, what happened to Bobby? We heard him and he died.
This guy, man. Anyway, it's not a coincidence that he's having technical difficulties.
I didn't even know he came back until he said something. I didn't see it.
I got to text him. Now, you were just there.
We'll figure it out, possibly.
Live. This is live, folks. There's nothing you can do.
Live from home, by the way.
This is it. I'm going to lose it.
This is a connection issue.
So there you go.
You got me?
I can hear. Yeah. I can hear you.
Yes.
All right, let's do this.
Don't move. Okay?
Say everything, Bobby.
Say everything you want to say. None of us can talk for 5 minutes.
Starting with an apology.
Let me dump all of this.
Starting with an apology, and then
there's no apology. I said Raptors in 7, and I still see this going 7. And this is the classic example of a game that we just talked about with Game 4 for the Celtics. It was a worst-case scenario. They played terrible, and then you just throw it out and go on to the next one.
But you see, Bobby, I will say that, and I'll let you keep going, but this goes to mine and Jimmy's point we've been making the whole season. The worst-case scenario for the Raptors results in a blowout loss.
Yep.
The worst case scenario in the Celtics is they grit it out, still down the stretch, have a shot at winning. That's kind of the difference.
Yeah, the Raptors are the better team when they can pull this to the middle because their floor is pretty low and the Celtics' ceiling is higher. And I've said this all along. The Celtics are the better team here. They have more talent. They have more shot making, as we saw today. But when the Celtics haven't taken them seriously, when they've played this game tighter, when they haven't, been able to adjust to the Raptors defense, which I thought they did in an excellent way in this one, they've played tight games that they haven't been executed down the stretch. They still didn't have to close a game here. And if there's another tight game in Game 6, I think that's something that they're going to have to overcome there, too. Those pivotal closing minutes of this game. I barely watched the second half. I mean, this was a joke after the second quarter. And again, you can't resolve the Raptors of anything out of that. They didn't show up to what very well could be the most important game of their season. I thought Nick Nurse was horrendous. Way too focused on the officiating rather than the game at hand. Yep, and that's been something he's done, and I don't think he's gained a lot from it. So you gotta.
I think he did. That the 14 free throw game when he talked about Tatum's 14 free throws, Tatum got to the line combined like 10 times the next 2 games.
The last 2 games, yeah.
Well, Tatum's been playing a little worse.
He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
So Tatum is someone I'm worried about if we were looking ahead to Game 6 a little bit here because he goes 5 of 15 in this one. You saw him injure his wrist, or at least
Bobby looking ahead already.
Hurt it. Well, I mean, this game was a joke. The Raptors. Did we get all right? So before we look ahead, did we gain much from the Celtics out of this one. Did the Celtics do anything to blow you away?
Not in an X's and O's statistical, like, let's break down what we saw on the
From a mental standpoint.
Straight effort and from the mental standpoint. Game 2, we talked about. I mean, after Game 3, you talk about there's a little bit of finger pointing, but they kind of kept it together. They knew they effed up. They knew they miscommunicated. They were pretty bummed out. And you're wondering, are they going to be able to just put this past them and come back? And they kind of came through, and they didn't. Jalen's head wasn't in Game 4. Marcus was all over the place. They weren't focused at all. It wasn't just energy last game. Everyone said the other team played harder. It felt like they were still in a daze from Game 3. So you were worried after losing 2 straight, they'd come out like that too. And even when they weren't hitting their outside shots early, I was worried they might get into one of these funks again, but they really dug in. So I do think that was a concern. I was worried this was going to be do you have what it takes sort of game for the Celtics? They either have a championship mentality or they don't, and you were going to see it tonight. And again, they didn't play an A+ game, but they played hard, and that was important. So that's the one thing I learned from this.
I think that's what's so important for this team, this whole series for the Celtics. And Bobby, you talk about you're talking about the Celtics being the more talented team. I think most people know that already. I think everyone was going into the series thinking, can Nick Nurse out-coach Brad Stevens? The last game he certainly did, but this one goes to Brad. It's almost like this chess match between these two coaches keeps going back and forth here. And if you ask me, it looked like Brad Stevens took a page out of Nick Nurse's coaching book from last game, because it seemed like he was trying to force these guys to shoot. Kyle Lowry took all of his attempts almost throughout that first half from behind the arc, just chucking up threes. That's exactly what Nick Nurse made the Celtics do. Forced someone like Kemba Walker to jack up 11 three-pointers in Game 4, excuse me.
Right.
On the Garden Report preview that we did, us three guys, Joe Sway and Bobby and Sierra, one of the things we talked about was what the Celtics need to do differently to win Game 5. I said composure. I thought that the way that they came out in Game 4, they were still reeling from Game 3. So to John's point on, did we see anything out of this game? That was one thing I was looking for, is how do they respond to adversity, right? And I thought that they came out a team just on a mission tonight to say, listen, Game 4 was a fluke. That's not how we play, and we're gonna make sure that we don't come out and do that again. We don't want to be in a position where we're now losing 3 straight to the Raptors, and now we're on the brink of elimination. So to me, that's what I saw. It wasn't like one player did a 180 on me in terms of, like you just mentioned earlier, Jason Tatum. Still got some things to worry about with Tatum as a player, but the Celtics as a team, I thought they came out and they showed a lot tonight.
Tatum's got that weird Tatum's got this sulky, mopey, weird body languagey thing. He just seems
it's like a swag thing.
He's not a killer. He's not a killer.
I'll tell you what it is
about everything right now. I don't know.
He can't be the ball handler in the series because they're blowing him up on that pick and roll. He's turning it over, and Kemba's been in better control. He's been the more authoritative figure in the series, and that's fine.
His way out of that.
Yeah, and we saw it against Milwaukee a couple times this season when the Celtics couldn't get anything going against all their length. It's a similar situation here with Toronto. Kemba can just slide in between all these different spaces.
And he's there, and he just
he's such a menace for these opposing teams.
He's like a wizard out there, man.
He's been the MVP of this series by far so far, and game in and game out, he's putting out excellent shooting performances. 53% in this one. He said he was going to shoot more. He did. I thought he was more authoritative early in this one, and they don't have an answer for him on the other side.
His 3-point shot was a little off tonight, but overall, he's the guy. He seems like he's the guy out there, right? And everyone's kind of thinking that maybe Tatum would have taken on that role as the guy, right? But I think it's been Kemba, because this Game 3 performance, even though they lost that game, was unreal. Very uncharacteristic Game 4, and in his defense, he came out and he answered the bell because he knew he had to play a lot better than he did in Game 4. And when he's in charge, when he's running the show out there, I don't know if Tatum just gets caught watching too much and he can get into his own sort of feel or into his own zone. He didn't really take a shot until 2 minutes left in the first quarter, so he's not getting himself going early on. Maybe he needs to flip that switch earlier on in the game and just kind of get himself into a groove. But just something to keep an eye on going forward for sure.
Yeah, and off-ball movement's the key. He's got to be active. He's got to find positions in the defense where he can get those shots. That's what Jaylen Brown does incredibly well. Rookie Jason Tatum had to do it, and so he did it phenomenally, like 42%. It was a lot of catch and shoot action. Defense is different. They were going to address him in different ways than they did back then, but you want to see him get some kickouts from Kemba and play off him a little bit, maybe even run a little pick and roll with him. Try to free himself better, because what did Brad say going into this series? No isolation. That's something Tatum still loves to do. He's tried it, and it hasn't worked extremely well. And he loves his pick and roll, which he hasn't been able to get either. So he's got to find different ways.
Well, let me ask you guys this question. So everyone, you make a safe, this is what people do. You have two teams that you think are evenly matched, and everybody just automatically predicts 6 or 7 games for whatever it is, or it's going 7. Now, we're at 3-2, so obviously it's going either 6 or 7. But like, Bobby, why are you so certain it's going 7? Because they're like, what gives you a reason to believe the Raptors will beat this? What is it that the Raptors are doing that you think will beat the Celtics? Again, it keeps coming back to the thing
He just has to appease.
It keeps coming back to the thing we say with Jimmy is like each game, every single game, I expect the Celtics to win. I'm not shocked when they lose because Toronto's a good enough team to beat them on any given night. But everything in a vacuum, I don't expect Toronto's going to come out in Game 6 and do what? I'm not sure.
Do what the Celtics did.
What is the
thing? Are they capable of doing what the Celtics did?
Yeah, what is the thing you think Toronto's going to do that's going to get them Game 6 and send this to go 7?
Well, they should be able to take advantage of the bench unit better, and that's still something like that was their thing coming into this series. Those second units were able to kill Boston, and I guess I can give Brad Stevens a little bit of credit here in that Grant lineup that he went to again, and I got terrified because it was only 14 at that point. Raptors still could have made a run. It worked a little bit better tonight, and Toronto missed a ton of shots against it. That's some place where you should be able to run those offensive rebounds, get OG on the glass, and just make a run out of it. You're right, John. Though,
did you say we?
What's that?
That's all right. What were you saying, Bobby? I like the sentence that starts with "You're right, John."
Yeah, no, you're right. They're dwindling out of options. You see them go to Matt Thomas on this one, and he had a good game.
Honestly,
he can shoot.
Honestly, Matt Thomas is one of the best outside shooters going right now, right?
Yeah. They need shooting. He cannot stay with Kemba.
No.
Did you see him in Game 1? He was shaking in his shorts.
Nick Nurse can figure something out, can't he? Coach of the year?
Oh my God, what am I going to do?
As soon as he starts dancing.
They're running out of options.
He needs to come in sharp, shoot. All of a sudden, 9 straight points for the Raptors. That's kind of what they needed in this game, and I think they just went to him a little bit too late. I don't know. That's just
no. You're right. I mean,
you might see him more. You might see him more in Game 6.
And they mixed up some of those names here too. They've got deeper into that bench, but they're running out of options here. They're going to have to stand defensively.
Players have to play better than Siakam and Lowry played tonight, and they got to dig in defensively. Right.
Bobby,
the defense is going to be what makes or breaks it for sure.
You weren't here when we ripped into Siakam. I mean, what's this guy's deal?
Siakam underwhelms me. He does, and I had him in my top 25 players coming into this postseason. Yeah, and I might have to take him out because this guy, he can't lead this team.
So you're taking him out because of this?
Yeah, I know. The postseason as a whole.
Putting Lowry in.
He's shooting like 40% from the field these playoffs. He can't get his own shot. It's a lot of posting up. They can't get him free for his corner 3, and he just seems for a player who's supposedly a star and becoming the star of the Raptors, he seems so limited. Like, I feel like this guy, he's not Giannis in physicality, but I feel like he could be a Giannis. He's a bigger, ball-handling, long big who can, do some activity on the drive and shoot. He can shoot better than Giannis. I don't know what he just doesn't carry a big authority on the court. I feel like
he's kind of a like a jack of all trades, master of none sort of guy, though.
Sure.
That's like
I look at his.
He kind of checks a lot of boxes, but he's not exceptional at anything. And right now, you're right. Underwhelming is a great way to put it.
His game 4 was great.
He looks fine, but again, if you'd never watched basketball before, you'd been in a coma, and this is the first series you watched, Siakam would not stand out to you at all.
No way. Not
at all. You would not point to that guy and be like, "This guy's special" at all.
But
that matchup with Jaylen Brown has been everything here. Jaylen Brown showing that he might actually be a better player than this guy.
Yeah.
I think he's a perfect example of a player that can just flourish in an equal opportunity offense, right? Like a high-level offense like the Raptors. That's why I knew he had one great game in him, which was, of course, the last game, the Pascal Siakam game. But, Bobby, you asked me after that game, does Pascal turn it up from here? I said, absolutely not. That was it. That's all he has. And he's going to give you some contribution here and there, but If the Toronto Raptors are going to rely on this guy to save the series, forget it. It's not going to happen that way. He's the guy who's going to get going after the other top 3 guys or the other 3 guys get going. And he sort of just blends right in, because of double teams over Van Fleet. But Van Fleet couldn't get his touch going tonight, and it was between him and Lowry. If they're not going, it's tough. It's a long night.
He let him in scoring this year. I mean, that's the thing. That's what's strange about it. Right. Like
he's been off since the bubble.
He's their guy, and he didn't have a good bubble either. And people were like, "Well, it's the bubble, and they're not playing for anything." And sure, but he never kicked it. He never kicked it back into gear. Wanamaker played 28 minutes tonight.
Wanamaker was their entire bench.
Holy wow!
Let's give him his due. He was
15. I knew he did well. 15 points though. 20. I didn't realize he played that many minutes.
He hit a couple threes. That second quarter was all him, and Brad rode him. He was in and out of a lot of.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that second quarter with that lineup that Brad had in there. I loved it when he had both of what was it, Jalen? No, well, at one point he had all 3, but before
I want to hear some feedback from you guys on that.
Yeah,
second quarter lineup. I don't know. I still don't love that lineup as a whole with Grant at center and Wanamaker and the shot making help. Tatum hit a couple shots out there with that unit, but I still feel like that leaves you vulnerable against this team's bigs. And another disappointing thing about Toronto in this one, Gasol, like he is just so gone. Like it feels like he's not even going to be in the NBA next year. The way he's playing.
Well, that was the problem. Is Gasol had another crap game, but Ibaka didn't show up today either.
Yeah, and they don't have a third option.
And they didn't. And what's amazing is they kind of went away from those guys. I mean, but Ibaka didn't have an impact game. 1 of 3. He just 3 of 6, 1 of 3.
Right. And so maybe what they do,
that big advantage existed last game. It completely went away today. Tysot played both those guys combined.
Their move might be move Pascal to center and get Matt Thomas out there as a shooter and really chase Boston down to those smaller lineups.
I'm surprised they don't go with a small lineup like that, but yeah.
Bobby, you mentioned the second unit. One of the reasons why you saw Grant Williams in there is because your guy, the other Williams, was kind of getting torched on the pick and roll up points in this one. And I mean, Rob Williams did not look like very comfortable on the court in this game 5 here. Did we lose him again?
What a coincidence!
Can't hear him.
Every time it gets hot, Bobby just
yeah. Nope, can't hear you, bud.
Your picture is fine
over there.
Whatever mic you're using, I think is a wonky connection because whatever that is, I'm not sure if it's a podcast mic. I would unplug it and go right through the computer audio.
Unbelievable! Every time.
Here.
Every time you bring up one of Bobby's points,
turn the computer on and off for him.
This
isn't what this show is supposed to be about.
No.
Give up the headsets, man. Give it up.
Put it 3 minutes and 30 seconds on defrost.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, man. I bet you have a little more energy too.
But John, I mean, hopefully we can get. Okay, Bob.
Yep, you got me.
Yeah. No.
All right, let's.
This is it, Bobby. Last try here, man.
This is my chance to answer on Robert Williams. So
I can hear you.
That doesn't bode well for the Celtics going into Game 6. I don't think it's going to because that was. That was one of the advantages that the Celtics had in this series is that Robert Williams rotation and on Gasol. And I think what you're going to see the Raptors do now is use much less of Gasol and try to run away from that matchup. And that's something you give the Raptors credit for in this series is they've rendered Rob ineffective, not having the confidence of his coach. And I still go back to that quote that Rob had after the windmill dunk when we all thought the series was going to be over in 4. Yeah. He was afraid that Brad was going to take him out at that moment. So there's something there between Brad and Rob that just isn't meshing right now.
I think it's a time bomb.
Listen, people forget, Daniel Tice has been a professional for longer than pretty much. Put it this way:
you need 2 centers, though. You need 2.
I get that.
It's again. Go ahead, Josue. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I just want to reiterate the way Tice is playing right now. You have to take advantage of that. And obviously, Robert Williams going to have a short leash. Like Tice, what was it last year? The injury that ended his season. Like he he was in a really good stride, and he's finally returned to that stride again. And I just think Brad's going to ride him because he's a big Tice guy. He's been, coaching him the last 3 years, and I just think in this matchup he's been great. It's flown completely under the radar. I'm telling you.
No matter what, it's again with both bigs. We always use. I've been using this phrase since the Philly series when it came to Cantor. You're always trying to survive those bench big minutes. You're trying to put a guy out there at a point in the game where you think
wasn't Rob something that they were just rocking Toronto early in the series through his minutes? Like we were seeing the massive plus minus numbers with him. It was an advantage, yeah. It
was, and Brad went away from it. But I always think again, maybe it's an eye test. The numbers say one thing, Brad's seeing something else. There's no question about it, and he's nervous about it because he sees, all of the things that Rob Williams does. Look at it. And the TNT announcers picked up on it immediately. The second Williams entered the game, Toronto's entire game plan is go at this guy. And that's what they did. They picked on him, and Brad was like, I got to get this guy off the floor.
So what do you make of Grant's game tonight?
I'll let someone else go. I thought he was close. I thought he was.
Because you need a second guy. So
I thought he was really noticing. He was almost invisible.
You get 8 minutes for Rob in this one, 8 minutes for Grant. So I know they played like maybe 2 or 3 minutes together. But overall, you're looking at still, even if you play Tice 30 minutes, that's like 10, 12 minutes you're still going to need another center out there. And Cantor's been unplayable in this series. Again, I think so much of this game flowed away during that second quarter when the Celtics just started knocking down shots left and right with that unit out there, that it didn't give us a full idea how the bigs are going to stack up when it comes to the bench unit and Grant and Rob and whoever else being out there against Ibaka and who the Raptors are going to have in that second unit. Because, tonight for 2.5 quarters, it was just garbage basketball. So there's still a lot that has to be, grinded out when it comes to Game 6 and things get a little tighter as it should.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think you're right. The end of that game, you're not really going to glean much from that. But, Jimmy, how you got us? You got us good?
I can hear John.
Okay, good.
I don't know who else.
But I don't know. This hasn't been that much of a chess match series in my mind. I feel like the teams have just kind of done
a little bit.
Really? I feel like it's been a huge chess match.
I think Nurse has mixed up his zones a little bit, but for the rest of it is
Nick Nurse is like making up zones on the fly right now.
That's what I mean. Other than throwing,
they did the OG in the middle thing tonight, and that actually threw Tatum off a little bit on his drives.
You're looking at roughly the same personnel, and the Celtics messed with their rotations a little bit, but it's not like, I don't know. To me, it's like outside of the zones, I think it's each game has been, do the Celtics show up or not, or which team shows up? What's up, Jimmy?
I can't hear Bob.
What do you think he does? What's the wrinkle? What's the wrinkle in Game 6?
I think that small ball thing is going to be what's left in his chest. He's going to go with that. He's going to try Pascal in the middle, shooters around him, dig a little bit deeper into the bench, try to find some other guys to contribute there because I don't know, that bench unit's getting away from them a little bit right now when they go to it. And Tice, like he's dominating the big man matchup again in this one, just like he was in that Game 1. We saw a bit of a return to what we saw in Game 1 in this game, I feel like. And I didn't expect that. Obviously, I said no blowouts, all the rest. First, my predictions to blow up in my face, and if the Celtics win Game 6, beating Crow right here on the postgame show. So
that's okay. We ate Jimmy and I ate healthy helpings of it last game. So
I made the mistake of going through the comments section, like I promised.
What do we got?
I would, and no, I mean after game 4.
Oh, last time, yeah. Oh, yeah,
you did big time. For me.
Big time.
I'll tell you this.
I'm with Bobby on that though. The whole second unit, I can see him going deeper into his bench. Ronnie Hollis
did have a good game.
Give him some minutes out there, some touches, see if he can, shake things up a bit. This team is a team that had 100 points off their bench, record-breaking 100 points right before they started their series against the Celtics. I can see Nick Nurse doing that.
Yeah, and the problem is for them that Boston's going to stay tight. So if you're running into a Hollis Jefferson, Matt Thomas, as we saw tonight, they're going to be going against Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum, and that probably will not bode well for them. So they have limited options in terms of adjustments. Their top line guys just have to play better. And unfortunately for Toronto right now, Marc Gasol does not seem to have anything going for him that we can project will improve. Siakam, 4 out of 5 games now, has been poor. And Kyle Lowry stacking up 3 bad games out of 5 now. So things aren't looking great. I expect them to compete. I expect them to be there on the boards. And I expect adjustments mid-game better than here. And, John, your big question of the night is tough to answer. It certainly is.
Yeah, and that's – what's that, Bobby? I mean, what's that, Joseph?
I said I expect them to catch that out when I was saying it to Bobby in response to Bobby.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, look, it's yeah,
I don't like the overconfidence here. We did it after game 2.
It's not overconfidence. I think you nailed it, Bobby. It's not overconfidence. We've watched the Celtics team. We know that you know the talent is there, but it's not. There's not elite to the level that their shit doesn't stink, that they can't be beat. Of course they can.
Right.
It's just Toronto. You nailed it, Bobby, when you said it's underwhelming. Like we're talking about Siakam. Toronto is right now is an underwhelming team, and that's the bigger surprise in the series is that Toronto's not more impressive given all of their success and how well they've played against the rest of the league. They look very underwhelming. That's what I'm surprised by. I'm waiting for a different team to show up completely and be like, "Oh, I get it now." That's what I'm.
Game 4 didn't do it for you. They were close. They were close to that point in Game 4.
No, we went over this. They weren't that good in Game 4.
They were fine.
In the second half, they were phenomenal. And they've stacked up some good second half. So, again, that's why I look at this game. It gets far away from them in the second quarter to the point where the second half doesn't matter at all. And that's a huge indictment on them. That's not an excuse. That's an indictment on Toronto that they put themselves in a position to lose this series now in 6. But
I'll make the argument if the Celtics had been crisper and executed better in first halves, they could have stacked up 8, 10, 12, 14-point leads while Toronto was lagging. I think the Celtics missed a lot of opportunities to create separation. You change that game a bit when when you're doing that. And I thought they did that last game is Toronto wasn't playing great at all. And the Celtics just miss. That game, Celtics jump out to a 10, 12-point second quarter lead, has a different complexion. They weren't able to do it. They weren't able to knock down shots. And it turned into a rock fight. And Toronto, just outlasted.
And you were talking about Siakam. You said jack of all trades, master of none. That kind of feels like a microcosm of this Raptors team, at least in this series, right? I mean, what do they really, really do? I mean, yeah, they play good team defense, I guess, right? But so do the Celtics. So you're going to need to do more than that.
Good team defense. They get out in transition, but the Celtics are,
right.
And we got to hammer on that.
The Celtics counter those things fairly
Celtics
well.
can do those too, exactly.
Yes,
so,
but they also play good transition defense.
The transition defense, yeah.
And that's a huge thing. That's a big thing that's messing with Toronto right now.
And we had one comment show up right here that said, Siakam's capable of scoring 25, 30 points a game. Well, okay, let's see that then. Let's see what he's capable of.
One of those in him. That's it.
His best game was 21. I think he averaged 23 during the regular season.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah.
And so when we look at those numbers, those are aided by the fact that they're a high possession team. They're going to get a ton of fast breaks, pile up the stops, and they don't do that here. That transition defense, which Josue has been big on throughout this series, has been everything here, and it's why the Celtics are looking like a nightmare matchup for them because you see Smart getting in front of Van Fleet, stripping the ball from him. How many chase down blocks did Tice have when guys got behind him on the break? He gets back so well.
Yes.
The Celtics were the best transition defense in the league this year, and it was by a wide margin. And Tice, Smart, those guys are the big reasons, and that's the difference in the series right now, by a wide margin.
That's it, because Toronto's not getting those buckets, which means they have to earn it in half court, and they're not doing a great job at all doing that. And their shooting's been just abysmal.
And that's where Gasol kills you. Like, what is wrong with him?
Why is he still starting? I mean, don't you think that Ibaka should get the nod over him at this point?
He must be hurt. I seriously think he's hurt. I think we're going to find out after the series that Marc Gasol is hurt because he cannot move right now.
It looks like late stages Arvydas Sabonis a little bit, like
aging, man.
He's like how old is this guy? He's like a Yeti,
Like he was 1 year ago they won the championship and he was a critical part. So is that what happens in 1 year?
Yeah, he's got.
I mean, Chris Boucher was getting
dad bod right now. Yeah.
Chris Boucher.
Chris Boucher was in concrete every time Kemba Walker. I think Kemba Walker was licking his chops.
Chris Boucher missed 3 layups in a row while we were lining up our shots here with 7 minutes to go.
Yeah. All right.
Disaster for Toronto, and they've made it so hard on themselves to win this series.
So surprising too. Yeah, I mean, how much more momentum? Again, I told you I don't believe in momentum. I think you come out and you set the tone early in a game, and then that game determines what kind of role you're on. It's not really what happened yesterday or not. But I don't know how Toronto laid such an egg. I mean, I didn't expect that at all. You know, this was you had to be tense coming into this game if you're a Celtics fan. You had to think, did they blow this thing? Holy crap! You know, are they messed up after blowing that game 3? And I'm just so surprised by the how both teams came out in this one.
Yeah, I was expecting a tense classic.
Yeah, a little bit more. Right, you expect that this was going to be a much, much, much tighter game.
Yeah, I had no idea how the Celtics were going to. I had a couple of friends text me wondering if they should bet on the Celtics, and I was like, honestly, you should live bet it because I want to see how these guys come out first, and I think that'll tell the story. And to their credit, I mean, they came out the way they needed to come out. You know, they put the clamps on defense early on. Jaylen Brown hit his shot, which was kind of like exhale, right? Because you didn't want him to go in full tilt mode right off the bat. And this was reminiscent of Game 1 where they led from start to finish, right? It never really felt like a game.
Yeah, I think the second quarter had a lot to do with that too. Bobby brought that up, and of course, there was a huge difference there. But a lot of that had to do with Brad Stevens going with his big 3 guys to start the quarter: Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They started the second, and that run was really significant in my opinion. And before that quarter even started, he still had Tatum out there along with Kemba Walker. Brad Wanamaker came in and made an immediate impact. So, yeah, I mean, kudos to Brad for doing that. Maybe he was worried to lose the third quarter yet again, which he did tonight. But, of course, the Celtics created the padding that they needed where it didn't really matter.
Yep. All right, well, final thoughts, and we'll head into Wednesday. Thoughts and predictions. So we'll start with you, Jimmy.
Sure. Before the series started, I said Celtics in 7. Then I upped it to Celtics in 6 after they went up 2-0. So, I mean, I guess I'm flip-flopping back and forth. I'm going to have to say I think the Celtics come out strong again. I mean, I don't think they want to make the same mistake they made in Game 3 where they could have put these guys out and they didn't. And if they did, we're not even talking about a Game 6, right? The series is over. And it would have been a commanding 4-1, series win, which is, about as commanding as you can get at this stage in the playoffs. So, I liked what I saw from the Celtics tonight. I think they came out, they reestablished themselves as the better team. And I think I'm just going to keep an eye on Jason Tatum. I'd still like to see him sort of go off king mode, and we haven't seen that at all this series. But I'll take Kemba Walker setting the stage too, because it seems like that's the biggest recipe for success.
Yeah, and as you said, Jimmy, you didn't get the Jason game, but you got the Jaylen game. So at least one of those two, has to be clicking. When they both are, it's almost lights out for Toronto. So you haven't had that. Josue, thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see, guys. I think we're going to see the Jason Tatum game. I know he went off for, he set a new career high. What was it in Game 1? But I think he's got a little more left in the tank here. And I think in the second half, that's going to be too much for the Toronto Raptors. This one might come down to the wire. I think it would be a lot closer than what we saw tonight. But I think in the end, the Celtics prevail for sure.
I am going to say this real quick before we get to Bobby's final thought. I always find it strange. I think there's so many games where the Celtics come out and they have this very democratic offense where they kind of whip it around and whoever's open and, he shoots. But I find it strange where Tatum might play his whole first stint in that first quarter with no shot attempts or one. Yeah. And that happens a lot. And I feel like those games, it's sometimes hard for him to get back into it. I think you've got to get him shots early to get him in the flow. And sometimes they don't, and it is strange. Yeah, I know the rotations have changed a bit now, and he's staying in a little bit longer into that quarter. But those games where he'd come out at the 6-minute mark, there are some of them where I feel he had no or one shot attempt only, and that's strange to me to not try to get him going. So I'd like to see Brad force the issue a little bit there and run a few sets through him just to get that, going a bit. And look, if they overplay him or they're trapping or they're coming out on him, obviously he's got to swing it and move it. Maybe part of that's Toronto's just not giving it. So you take what the defense gives you. But I want to see them force the issue a tad, get him good looks. I want to see him get a couple of threes, cranking early. But Bobby, your thoughts?
Yeah. to continue on that too, I think something I'm noticing with Tatum is that he's a canter screener. He loves canter screens, and that's something he hasn't gotten in the series. Like I see Kemba as a Williams guy. He likes Williams screens. You see the chemistry between them. Smart is a Tice guy. Like each one of those ball handlers, they prefer one of those different guys. No, I'm serious. Like I think
they have backsides they prefer.
Yeah.
It's like
Kemba likes Tice.
what is it? Josh Beckett needed it.
No, Kemba likes Tice too.
Or Lester needed a specific.
You can't go wrong with any three of them.
Mirabelli?
Mirabelli. Yeah, Mirabelli.
Whoever it was.
They got options. And no, you know what's true too? When you run those Grant lineups, you don't have a screener at all. So that's something you have to consider too when they get into those second units. And that's my key for game 2. How will they rotate into that second unit? Will they hit a ton of shots and expand the gap in this one? Because one thing that worries me with Toronto now, and what I saw tonight, is that Kyle Lowry didn't have the burst, the energy to set a tone early in this game like he did each of the last 2.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a gap developed early. It was only a 14-point game. But then once you got into the bench units, they hit a ton of more shots and expanded to 20 and 28 and all the rest. So you could actually see a repeat of that if Lowry's not able to dig his fist into the game early in game 6. But I feel like the Raptors, I've watched them all season. I've watched them all playoffs. They have that punch back, that reaction to them, and I'm expecting them to have at least one more fight in them.
Yeah. For me, what I'll say is, you never know if they're going to be falling or not, but just to me, value those possessions. When they have those times where Smart's playing a little loose and he started with a travel tonight, or Tatum's holding the ball too long at the top of the key and ends up taking that super contested 3, which again he makes, and those are daggers when he does. But just value your possessions, because if you string enough good ones together, I just think it's going to be hard for Toronto to overcome it. When you give them easy outs by turning the ball over or forcing yourself into situations where you have to take bad shots, I think that's what gets them in trouble. And that to me is the key, is just stay focused on every single possession, one after the other, certainly early in the game. Because those ones where they can't get out of their own way, I think it's just like you're allowing Toronto to kind of hang around there. So
that's what happened in game 4, I feel like, too. Those long misses. It gets their fast break going and then forget it. They're all
long misses, fast break going right. Just value the possessions, get your shots. They fall, they don't fall, but go, stay attacking, be aggressive, and just do what they were doing here. And that's what I'd like to see. But
I don't want the Celtics to fall in love with the 3-point shot if it's not falling. I liked that they got aggressive and drove to the hip. It looked like they were finding some gaps in that zone defense, and they were getting to the rim. Bobby probably could scientifically break that down a lot better than I could.
Marcus Smart did a good job with that, yep.
Yeah, I'm sure that we'll probably see some.
What's their record when their first basket is a Marcus Smart 3?
Undefeated.
I feel like that's a good omen, right?
He's been the barometer for this team in this series, and he had another good one tonight. 50% shooting.
He was
a little more in control.
A little more control, because I was a little worried at the beginning, and he strung together a really good game. So let's wrap it up. Canada bailed on us this game, so we don't have. The trolls aren't out there.
The trolls aren't out there. As they're in bed early. One thing we have to mention.
I got a fantasy draft in 30 minutes too, so I gotta do some prep.
If
anyway. Celtics lose and they come back in a couple of nights and they start talking smack, oh man, I'll look forward to that.
They will.
You gotta be consistent. I want you here all the time, okay?
I did my best, guys, tonight. I need your help.
Yeah.
Well, right. Bobby conveniently had technical difficulties every time we were going in for the kill on him, so we're gonna have to make sure that he gets his...
He was
Guys, one thing we didn't mention that we have to mention is that Jaylen Brown dunk. Oh my God.
Man.
Shattered OG for the rest of the game, too. You didn't see him after that.
That was like
he was just, you're right, Bobby.
I had no clue he could get that reach.
I mean, that was just from standing. It wasn't like he had a running start or anything. I mean, he just exploded. That was like
fascinated him.
That was just all his frustration.
That's what cracked me up, because I think OG didn't realize. Like, he was like, "Wait a minute, we're too far from the rim. How did you?" Like, he was like, "How did you extend that?" Like,
good pass by Smart to set that up too, right in the flow.
Oh my God, it's like
unreal.
That's where the game blew up. Tice had blocked a shot on the other side. Brown throws that down after they hit a bunch of threes, and Raptors gave up.
He does that. He gets that, like, I'm gonna dunk this, and a couple times he goes up, and you're like, you're way too far.
Yeah.
Those times, I was like, dunk this, and he did.
Go gadget arm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah, that was
Probably
amazing.
doesn't get the reference.
Right. Now you get it. Right, old guy made it. Jimmy helped me. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so we're back. Game 6 Wednesday night. Toronto, join us. You know,
Please,
Yeah.
come on, it's on. Dinner's on me. Come on.
we'll do
Raptors.
this. We promise. We'll be nice. We won't even win or lose. Okay, you're welcome back. Okay.
I'll be wearing all black.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna let her out?
Welcome back.
All right, guys, let's see if we get a 7. I think
That's
we
it.
will. I don't know.
For Jimmy Toscano, Josue Pavone, and Canada's own Bobby Manning, we're gonna.
Prime Minister.
We'll see you guys.